What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Episode 1. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. So let's kick back, relax, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. I just watched Episode 1 just a couple of hours ago, and I really wanted to get out a review while this episode was fresh in my mind. And all I can say is that this episode is amazing. Hands down, the best Star Trek that they've put out since Star Trek Enterprise, if not better than Star Trek Enterprise. It's right on par with some of the greatest Star Treks that they've done. Period. And it's going to sound like I'm hyping this up, but anybody that's truly a fan of Star Trek after watching this episode will understand exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, they hit it on all thrusters as far as the feel of having a hopeful and optimistic future, while still having that drama as far as like Pike's storyline and like how he where we find him in the beginning of Episode 1 and his reluctance to come back to Starfleet. I think that this is such a return to form for Paramount and what they can do with Star Trek, and honestly, what I've been hoping for. I've had such high hopes for this show, and it's kind of funny too because I watched the season finale of Picard before I watched Strange New Worlds, and the finale wasn't bad, but it really didn't. It was kind of like the rest of season 2. It really didn't do it for me, even though it was better than season 1. But we're not really here to talk about that. We're really here to talk about what I thought about Episode 1 of this. Now, this is my first time doing a review, so give me a little bit of slack. And I really wanted to start getting into this as far as maybe putting out some reviews here and there, because I think that this is something that I can do, and it might, be come out pretty good. So, what's Episode 1 about? Now, this is going to be kind of a spoilery review. So, if you haven't watched the episode yet, go ahead and hit pause. Check it out on Paramount Plus, and once you've finished watching it, come back to this review, and then we can have a discussion about it. As I'm talking about different things about this episode, please drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the show. I definitely love to hear from everybody because maybe everyone didn't enjoy this episode as much as I did. So this episode, it picks up, after Discovery Season 2, but it connects directly back into the finale of Season 2, in that we find Pike in between missions. He's on his ranch in Montana, and he's kind of a broken man. He's seen his future, and he knows that he's going to die, or he thinks that he's going to die 10 years from the point in Episode 1. And that's really jaded him to the point that he doesn't want to come back to Starfleet. Starfleet's calling him on his pager, on his communicator. He's not answering it. He doesn't want to come back. And number one ends up, she, is somebody that she can't take any downtime. So she takes a mission to go on a first contact mission, and her entire crew and ship goes missing. They lose contact with her. And this is Starfleet's in to get Pike back, and none other than Robert April comes to bring him back. Now, I want to veer off to the side just for a moment to talk about Robert April. I know that's some people are saying it's a little controversial that they changed canon and cast the actor that they did for Robert April. But you know what? I really don't think it's a big deal. The guy that they got to play him, I think he nailed it. He did everything that he needed to do. And then let's not forget that his character, Robert April, was from Star Trek, the original series. And I think that that's like their one excuse that they can get around that. And, the actor was really good. So I can let it go because he was really good in the scenes that he was in. So anyway, he comes back. He recruits Pike and kind of tries to convince him to come back. And Pike tells him, he's like, you don't want me out there. And really what he's saying is that he doesn't want to go out there because, he feels like if he goes back, he's going to fulfill his destiny and die. But then once he finds out that number one's gone, that she's gone missing, Robert April basically convinces him to come back for one last mission. And then we go into scene like, the assembly of the crew coming together. It goes right to Spock, and I forget the character's name, but we find out that Spock's actually engaged, and you get a little bit of a backstory for Spock and some more of his personal life. Which again, this is something else that I don't mind it, because, you know, in the original series and the movies, we really never got that much of an outlook on Spock's personal life. It was always, he was always, let's get down to business. It wasn't until Star Trek V that you even found out just a little bit of his extra backstory, you know. Um, I embraced it. I thought that that was cool. And, then they go right into that they're on the ship, and, everybody that they cast, there are a couple here and there that I had some slight concerns about. But I really got to give Ethan Peck credit for playing Spock this season, as well as Anson Mount, because in episode 1, they both just nail it. Ethan Peck, like the way that he was acting, maybe it's just me, but he reminded me so much of Leonard Nimoy. Like, he honestly left Zachary Quinto in his dust as far as his performance goes. And Anson Mount, like the way that he commands himself once he gets on the ship, his charisma and gravitas, everything, he just nails it completely. So anyway, they once they get on the Enterprise, they go to this planet, and it's really cool. It's a first contact mission, and also, well, for Pike's crew, it's a rescue mission to find number one. And this episode ties so much into the problems that we're facing today. And this is one of the things that I loved about Star Trek growing up. And if you've watched any documentaries about Star Trek, you've probably come across this at one point or another, that Gene Roddenberry wrote Star Trek low-key to be morality issues. And, facing a problem, learning how to deal with that, and learning from your mistakes. And this episode just hit home for me so much, because it's so much of what we're facing today. They come across a pre-warp planet, and they've developed a warp nuclear bomb, and they shouldn't even have this technology. They used telescopes, and they were able to detect the rift that Discovery went through in the end of season 2, and they were able to develop their own warp technology, but into a bomb. So think of, like, basically our story, or not story, but where we're living right now, where people are going up against each other, where it could possibly be a civil war or a third world war. Things kept going in the direction where they are right now. This is where this pre-warp civilization is. And it's a fantastic opportunity for them to hit on a couple of subjects. But first, Kirk, Spock, and La'an Noonan Singh, played by Christina Chong, she actually did a fantastic job. She was another actress I thought really owned the role, even though it was a new character, being Khan's daughter. I thought that, I had some hesitations as far as bringing her into the show, because it almost kind of breaks canon, because she would have been on Khan's ship, in which they almost kind of go into that. And that's probably going to be the one thing, well, maybe we'll talk about it. We'll see how we go in today's episode. But no, she did fantastic. So La'an, Spock, and Kirk, or not Kirk, and Pike, they go to see Dr. M'Baga and Nurse Chapel, and they get this serum to basically make them look like aliens, so that they can go incognito on this planet to try to rescue number one. And long story short, they rescue her, but they realize that, that it's their fault that they have this technology, and that they're basically going to use this warp bomb to destroy each other. And number one's like, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the ship. And Pike's like, no, like, we can't go back. Like, this is our problem. We made it happen. We have a responsibility to fix it. So he sends everybody back, but back to the ship, but him and Spock. And they basically let themselves get captured. And it's actually kind of funny, because when they get captured, he's like, take me to your leader. And they do that, and he basically has a discussion with him, like, look, we're not that far off from each other. You guys are actually a lot like us, and we went down this same path. And like he shows them photos and videos, whatnot, of the 21st century, basically like where we are right now. But then he talks about like and this is within Star Trek canon, about the Second Civil War, and then the eugenics, which goes into Khan, and then the Third World War, and how the United States was destroyed and so much of the world was destroyed. And he basically tells him like, I want to save you of this, and that you have this weapon here that you can use to kill each other, but your greatest asset is the ability to speak and debate and basically say what you feel. And it was crazy because when he said that, like I got chills, because this is something I'd never do. I won't get political on this channel in any way whatsoever, but I think that anybody would agree that that's something that's a problem right now, that people, they can't talk anymore. You can't say what you really feel. And I felt that this show, what they hit just in episode 1, they immediately address problems that we're facing today. And this is what Star Trek's here for. You know, in my opinion, the best Star Trek was always written around problems that we face today. And I can't stress enough how much Strange New Worlds is just truly needed today. It's blown Star Trek Picard out of the water just right off the first episode, and it's destroyed all 4 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, as far as I'm concerned, as well. And even the Kelvin Star Trek movies, it's destroyed those also. I can't stress enough how great this episode actually was. And it was really cool too, because Pike, he basically, he takes it as his responsibility to try to help the civilization along. And he's able to basically get them to open up a discussion, and it kind of goes towards the end of the episode where they're showing this planet where the two rivaling communities, they're trying to debate, but they're having a lot of problems. And he actually transports back down before he leaves the solar system. He's like, look, you guys got to work this out, and you're probably going to blow each other up. And I love it because he says something along the lines of that, the biggest stick in the room usually says how it is. And he's like, well, let's show what we got. And the Enterprise just comes right down in the atmosphere so everybody can see it. And everyone's just like, oh, crap. Like, they weren't kidding. And I think it puts everybody in a shock, like, okay, you know what? Maybe we are overstepping our bounds here. Let's drop our guard and try to fix this. And again, that just, it gave me chills up my spine, the way that the episode just played out, some really cool things I want to talk about, some of the casting, going back to that. The actress that they got to play Uhura, Cecilia Rose Gooding, she did a fantastic job. She was another one that I wasn't sure how I was going to feel with them bringing in Uhura so early on. But, I think that, we're past the point of the cage, which was the pilot for the original series. So, like, I feel like this is some things that they could possibly get away with. I don't think that it's really that big of a deal. Another thing, too, like, they teased early on in the episode that Pike had requested Lieutenant Kirk to be transferred to the ship. And then we find out in the episode, they're like, all right, Kirk's on board. Like, he's going to make his way up to the bridge. And he comes on, and it's not Jim Kirk, it's another Kirk. And he's got a mustache and everything. I forget the guy's first name, but I don't even know if they're related. The two will be related, but I think it's a little teaser of things that come, because Kirk will be coming in season 2. And it's kind of interesting, too, because, I had my own reservations about the show, because I heard some things online what they were going to do with Kirk, that they were going to fundamentally change the character on the show, change his sexuality, and all this other things about him. But I really have high hopes that that's not going to be the case with this, and that, they've done such a good job with season 1 that that they'll stay true to canon as much as they possibly can. And don't get me wrong, not that I think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. If that's what they want to do, make an alternate universe and go to town, do whatever makes you happy. That's as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just, I'm one of those more old school Star Trek fans. Let's stay just within the canon, and this is a great area, a good chunk of time that hasn't been expanded upon. And I've kind of talked about this in the past with like some of my other episodes that I've done, that uh, there's a few points in time where that really just haven't been fleshed out at all. And pre-Kirk, uh, well, basically the Cage to episode 1 of the original series, that's a good chunk of time. And then of course after Star Trek 6 leading up to Next Generation, like I think like those are two, like the top two areas that people want to see fleshed out. But it's just I can't stress enough just how great this show actually ended up being. Even Rebecca Romaine, like she kills it as number one. And apparently, like there's a lot of juicy stuff that we're gonna find out in season 2 with her character. They were teasing that she's got a secret that's gonna kind of change her character a little bit. Um, who else I want to talk about? Dr. Mbaga. I'm probably going to mispronounce his name. Excuse me for doing it. Dr. Mbenga. I know that he was in an episode of the original series. I actually really liked him because, like, I was thinking about it at first, and I was like, wait a second, like, he wasn't the doctor when Pike was on board. There was another guy. But he was the guy that they had that was in Strange New Worlds episode 1. He was great. Even the actress that they got to play Nurse Chapel, I think that was cool. Um, and then like even at the very end of the episode, like it was actually really cool because like there was a moment between um, Pike and Leanne Noonan Singh, where basically she's wanting to tell him that she's Khan's daughter and that she's from the past. And she talks about like the Gorn getting a hold of her ship that she was on, and that she got jettisoned into space, and that she was supposed to be found. And it's cool because like they're on this space station. There's these giant domes with basically ecosystems in them, and like she's basically making it out like she couldn't grow as a person, or whatever. And like I thought it was so cool. Like Pike gives her this monologue about like how this space station was created, and that it was basically like from the Third World War, and that after that it was just too big to bring back to Earth, so they just built the space station around it. And it's crazy that, and he goes, even in space things can grow. And again, I thought that nailed it like so much. Like having these moral issues to go through, or personal battles within you to deal with, and being able to learn from it. Even Pike, he has his own issue that he's dealing with in episode 1, that he's jaded by the fact that he knows that he's going to die in 10 years. He's seen how he's going to die. And this is something that's kind of a recurring plot throughout the episode that he keeps touching back on. And anytime like he sees his reflection, he sees himself 10 years in the future discarded and disfigured. And it's you could tell it's gutted him, that he knows he's going to die in 10 years. And I forget the exact quote, but there's a quote that Leanne Noonan Singh makes, that guys that expect that they're going to live forever die quickly. And it kind of resonates a lot with Pike because he knows that he's going to die, and this kind of helps him that this isn't going to stop me from being a great person. And at the end of the episode, he tells April, like, I'm not going to leave the Enterprise. I'm going to stay on board, and let destiny take its form. And it's crazy because I'm getting tongue tied because it's so much of this episode is just Star Trek fan service, and how Star Trek should be written, and really hasn't been for over 10 years. And it was very refreshing to see them come back to this way of storytelling. And I think that hopefully the producers of just Star Trek in general take this episode and realize that this is the way to do Star Trek. Even with the movies, this is the way to do it across the board. And I know that Star Trek Picard Season 3 is done, and that's going to play out the way it's going to play out whenever that comes out. And it's probably too late for Discovery Season 5 because I think that they're filming it right now. I could be wrong. But hopefully they're able to apply that to the next season, and then the next Kelvin movie, because this is the format to do it in. Gene Roddenberry wrote an entire book basically about how to write the perfect Star Trek episode. Um, he actually has a guide for that Paramount has, and this is something that they just need to go back to and live by, because you can't go wrong with it. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts about it. I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about this episode, and if you all enjoyed it as much as I did. What were your, number one takeaways from this episode? Who did you love? Who did you not like, and why? Um, did it bother you that they changed up Robert April? Did it bother you that they changed up as far as teasing us with Kirk, but then ended up being a different Kirk in the end? How did you feel about Anson Mount? Rebecca Romaine, Ethan Peck, Christina Chong as Lan Noonan Singh, Cecilia Rose Gooding as Uhura, and of course Babs. I can't pronounce the guy's last name. I'm so sorry. Osama Oken as Dr. Mbenga. Don't crucify me for mispronouncing the guy's last name, but I just, that man, he killed it as far as Dr. Mbenga goes. But anyway, let me know what you all thought regarding this episode. I'm going to try to start doing these weekly. We'll see. And this is something I feel like, it's only my first episode doing it. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a little bit better with this as I go. I feel like doing the tutorials that I've done in the past have kind of helped me to get to this point, but this is something I really want to start doing more of. And of course, like my tutorials and stuff that with Minecraft, I'm going to keep doing those too. Don't get me wrong, you'll see those, but this is something I want to jump into, and let me know what you thought about today's episode, how I did. If I did good, let me know. If there's some things I could have worked on better, let me know. Let me know what you thought in general about Strange New Worlds episode 1. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And tune in next week, next Thursday, when we review episode 2. Can't wait. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.